Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and it's finally official. Xbox now owns everything under the Activision and Blizzard umbrella. Now, we've kind of already known that for about a year now that was gonna happen. However, what we didn't know was what was gonna happen to good old Bobby Kotick, you know, the CEO behind Activision Blizzard and the man responsible for all the terrible decisions that heavily affected Overwatch's 2 future. Well, we just got word that Bobby Kotick is officially gonna be stepping down from CEO of Blizzard on January 1st, 2024. Look, I know a lot of people are going to have their issues with Xbox acquiring Activision Blizzard, but one thing's for certain is the fact that Bobby stepping down from CEO is probably the biggest W that Activision Blizzard has had in the past couple of years now. And look, I gotta get this out of the way because I know there's gonna be tons of PlayStation players confused and wondering, what, is Overwatch 2 gonna be exclusive to Xbox now? No, Xbox would be dumb to try to remove it from PlayStation because that means that they don't make money off of PlayStation players. So I think PlayStation players, you're gonna be fine. With Phil Spencer at the helm, everything's gonna be a-okay for y'all. And even with Xbox acquiring Blizzard and Phil Spencer being the new CEO of Overwatch 2 doesn't guarantee anything at all. One thing's for certain, it can't get any more worse than how it previously was. Look, it's heavily documented of how bad of a CEO, leader, and overall human being Bobby was while with his time at Activision Blizzard, whether it's the sexual harassments, the lawsuits, him letting so much just slip by under his leadership, and also not to mention the questionable business decisions that heavily affected Overwatch 2. By him stepping down from CEO means that just better leadership is not only going to take the CEO position, but this also means that's going to start to affect other areas within Blizzard that otherwise wouldn't have if Bobby wouldn't have stepped down. And that's what I'm personally most excited about when it comes to this acquisition, is not only a better captain to take over and steer the ship, but just a better crew overall, because you already know that Xbox, the whole entire Xbox and Microsoft division, is going to probably step in and try to fix this mess that they just spent $69 billion on. Nice. Now, I've been heavily following Xbox ever since like 2013 when the original Xbox One first came out. And one thing that I can remember is that Xbox One at that time was in the similar position of Activision Blizzard in Overwatch 2, where it was on fire. It not in the good way. Like, it seemed like the failure of Microsoft and Xbox was in the near future. Now, I don't want to say that Phil Spencer literally slowly that man came in and saved this company, but one thing that I can say is that he was a part of Xbox's rebound, where nowadays Xbox is a lot more respected and the future actually seems somewhat bright for the company. It's definitely not gonna fall flat like how it seemed like it was gonna back in 2013. And look, that's not to ignore any of the problems that Xbox currently has with Microsoft's gaming division and all that kind of stuff, because trust me, I'm sure they have their own sort of problems. But the point that I'm trying to get across is that by Bobby stepping down and Phil and his team stepping in, because it's not just Phil, it's the whole entire Xbox division that helped make Xbox better, that can have the same sort of influence with Activision Blizzard, can have the same sort of influence with Overwatch 2 by steering the ship in the right direction. Look, people need to realize that's not the developers, it's not the engineers, it's not the artists, it's not Aaron Keller over on the Overwatch team that's making the choices of Overwatch 2, it's the executives, it's people like Bobby, it's people that are running under him that are making these decisions. So if you hate that Overwatch 2 is free to play, if you hate the battle pass, if you hate monetization and the skin prices, and if you just hate the overall current state of Overwatch 2, you can blame people like Bobby, you can blame the executives that were under him because they were the ones making the decisions, not the people that were actually working on Overwatch. The executives are just trying to squeeze out as much money as possible, kind of rightfully so, because that's their job. They're trying to make money off of this video game company, but I mean, clearly it's led Overwatch in the wrong direction. So with somebody else coming in that can just as easily try to squeeze as much money out as possible, they can at least do it in a better way, or at least a different way. Maybe not better, but different. And how they can actually do this is by not only having the better leadership, like I mentioned before, but actually investing more into it, whether that's financially or by power, by having more employees working on Overwatch 2, because I think that's what Overwatch 2 is suffering from the most, is the fact that their team, while people love to say that they're a small indie company, is relatively relatively small for a AAA company. I think they have anywhere from like 100 to 300 people working full-time on the game. So by Xbox coming and stepping in, that means that they can possibly have more people that work on other games to shift to the Overwatch division, but more than likely they can just try to hire more people to work on Overwatch 2 because they have an actual recruit budget, with Microsoft being a top 5 worldwide company. And by having a bigger team means that there's more opportunities to have things like PVE actually be completed, because that was a big issue that Overwatch 2 ran into, was that they were trying to have skill trees be a part of PVE to have this replayability campaign, but they couldn't complete it because it seemed like there was no end in sight. But I think that's because of 2 reasons. One, either Blizzard didn't see that this could have made money, so why pour even more money into it, or possibly the second reason is because they don't have enough people working on the game. So that means things like PvE can actually be seen till the end, where it could actually be replayable, actually be a fun expansion of Overwatch 2, and just be executed. But not only just PvE, but also the PvP side of Overwatch 2 can be heavily improved if there's more people working on Overwatch 2 from the Xbox division. This means that there can be even more events, possibly even more heroes, possibly even more and better free cosmetics being given out to players, just having the multiplayer experience be more consumer friendly than what it is currently today, because there are more people just working on the game. But by Xbox coming and stepping in means that they have a bigger budget for things like an esports division, which has been notorious for losing money. But the reason why Microsoft could see that something like the Overwatch League be profitable, maybe not directly from the Overwatch League, but possibly just as a marketing tool, they could see the Overwatch League as a way to capture an audience that otherwise wouldn't have been captured if it wasn't for them putting on this Overwatch League show that could capture a player that can then be transferred into the Overwatch world, that could then buy cosmetics and other things within Overwatch 2 that they otherwise wouldn't have been buying if it wasn't for the Overwatch League. Not to mention the sponsorship opportunities that could be directly from Xbox, whether it's sponsoring and advertising the next Xbox console or Xbox Game Pass, but also just the connections that Microsoft could have with other companies that otherwise wouldn't have been possible if they didn't own the Overwatch League. Not to mention some fun collabs down the road that otherwise couldn't have happened if Xbox didn't own Overwatch, like a Master Chief Soldier 76 collab skin. But look, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Even though that would be a really cool collab, there's way bigger fish to fry. But that's also not to say that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows with Xbox owning Overwatch 2, because now that Microsoft owns this company, one thing's for certain, that means that there's going to be even more layers of leadership to go through when it comes to decision making. While the decision making can only be better from here on out, one thing that I think is going to happen is that changes are going to be very, very, very slow. And I'm not talking about like hero changes and balancing. That's, I think, going to still be the exact same. But what I'm talking about is decisions that are big, like should loot boxes be implemented into Overwatch 2? Should Overwatch 2 still be free to play from here on out? You know, things like that. Even though it's still probably going to be free to play, it's just those type of decisions that's going to take ages to actually implement, because they have to go through so many people now that Xbox owns Overwatch. And look, while this whole entire time I've been riding high on copium because Overwatch 2 is finally going to have better leaders and better decisions being made, another thing that people got to realize is that a big giant corporation is buying a big giant corporation. And if I know anything about big giant corporations, especially a top 5 giant corporation like Microsoft, is that they love their money and that they want to make their money back. So I wouldn't expect any sort of monetization changes anytime soon, because, well, they spent all this money, they got to make it back. But at least now we know that we could possibly have a different sort of monetization down the road, because Xbox might be willing to change how Overwatch 2 is ran, because that wasn't their decision to make Overwatch 2 free to play. That wasn't their decision to price the skins that it was. It wasn't their decision to have a battle pass like how it is. So they probably will step in and make some changes, but it'll take a bit of time. But at least we know changes could be down the road. Could be, but we'll just have to see. Until then, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.